Hello, friends. Very good evening. So, our today's topic of discussion is a Supreme Court case law, where a Supreme Court has analyzed whether Section 194C is applicable to payments made to a truck operator or a truck owner. So, this is the case of Sri Chaudhary Transport Company, which is a partnership firm. First, I would like to thank Hepzibah for bringing out this presentation. The legends used, we will be seeing this while going through the presentation. So for today's agenda or our presentation schema for today will be, first we'll see what are the facts of the case, then we'll look into what is the main issue and what are the orders given by various authorities, and then we'll see what is the contention of the parties, that is the assessee and the revenue, while going to the Supreme Court for appeal. Then we'll see what is the observation of the Supreme Court of various contentions and the issue of the assessee. Then finally we'll look into the decision of the Supreme Court and what were its observations. So first we'll look at the facts of the case. So here the assessee is a partnership firm whose name is Sri Chaudhary Transport Company, which had entered into a contract with Aditya Cement Limited, a company for transporting cement to various places in India. So here we have to be very clear that there is a direct contract of Aditya Cement Limited with the assessee Chaudhary Transport Company for transporting cements to various places in India. Now, since the assessee was not having any transportation of his own, he had engaged services of various other transporters for this purpose. So since the assessee was not having any of his vehicle, he engaged or he called for various subcontractors on a freelance or a need basis for the purpose of transporting the cement to various places. Now, when the Aditya Cement Limited made payments for the transportation charges to the assessee, it had deducted the TDS on the same. So there is no problem with the transaction which happened between Aditya Cement and the assessee for payments, because Aditya Cement had clearly deducted TDS on the same and made the payment to the assessee. But while assessee filing the return of income, that is the partnership firm which filed the return of income for the assessment year 2005-06, it showed a total income of rupees 2,89,633, which is a derived income from business of transport contract. Now here what has happened is the assessee has received the amount, that is receipts from Aditya Cement Limited towards its transportation charges, and it has paid various transportation charges to the subcontractors, and the balance amount he has shown as its income from the transport contract. Now when the case was taken up for the scrutiny, assessing officer called for the records and observed that the payments which were made to truck operators or owners, it had failed to deduct the TDS on the same, with even though the payments were exceeding rupees 20,000. So we'll be seeing what is the section 194C. So for a brief, 194C here refers to that if the payment made to for any work to any resident, then and it exceeds rupees 20,000, then TDS has to be deducted on the same under section 194C on contract basis. So the appellant here, the assessing officer observed this and had asked for the reasons for the same for failure to deduct the TDS. Appellant in turn contended that the trucks which it hired belonged to different operators who were not the subcontractors or the contractors. They came from different parts of the world, and mostly it required cash payments for its diesel and other running expenses. So these cannot be termed as a transport or a contract basis, as the appellant called only when it was on a need basis. So the appellant contended that there was no contract between the appellant and the subcontractors which he called for. So here the main issue under consideration is the assessee had asked, or whether the assessee contended that whether there existed a contract between the appellant and the truck operator or owners, resulting in the responsibility of the appellant to deduct TDS on freight charges paid to the truck operators, and if so, then whether disallowance under section 40 IA would be applicable in the case of this assessee. So now friends, we have to be very clear here that the transaction between the assessee and the Aditya Cement Limited company, that is the consignor company, is very clear, and there is a contract between the two. But the assessee contacted that there is no contract between the assessee himself and the subcontractors which it hired for. But the assessing officer had opined on a different note. Assessing officer, while issuing the order, stated that there does existed a contract between the appellant and the truck operators with respect to each challan or each consignment of transportation between the appellant and the truck operators, as the payments were directly made to the truck operators by the appellant firm. So assessing officer clearly stated that there was a contract between the appellant firm and the truck operators. The CIT appeals also held on the same grounds and against the assessee. The ITAT clearly distinguished that the ITAT also held in favor of the revenue, and it gave a clear indication that since the contract was directly of the Aditya Limited company, that is the consignor company, and the assessee for transportation of the goods, it was the responsibility of the assessee to make the transaction happen. And for such responsibility, even if the assessee hired the transport operators, or even if the assessee had called for any subcontractors, that would tantamount to a separate contract between the assessee and the subcontractors. Therefore, the payments which the assessee made to those subcontractors called for TDS deduction under 194C. High Court also opined on the same decision which the ITAT relied upon, and further the appeal was made to the Supreme Court by the assessee. So what were the contentions of the parties towards for the Supreme Court? So the contention of the assessee was, first, it said that section 194C was not applicable at all when there had not been any specific contract between the appellant and the truck owners whose vehicles were hired on freelance or need basis. Second, the assessee also told that even if there was a need to deduct 194C, deduct TDS under section 194C, the expenses could only be disallowed under section 40A for the remaining amount payable, as section 40A intends to disallow only the amount which is remaining payable and not the amount which has already been paid by the assessee. Third, it also contended that even if the disallowance was called upon under section 40A, it cannot be brought to the assessment year which is relevant here, that is assessment year 5-6, because the Finance Act 2004 gave introduced the section 40A, and it and the assent of the president, that is the acceptance of the president, came only post April 2004. So which states that it shall be applicable only from the assessment year 2006 and 7 and not from the assessment year 5-6. And finally, assessee also said that if section 40A would be applicable and the expenses should be disallowed, then the amount of expense to be disallowed shall be restricted to 30% of the total expenses, as the amendment came in Finance Act 2014, which should be applied retrospectively for the assessment year 5-6. Now we'll see what is the contention of the revenue. Revenue had contended that carrying out of the work of transportation by hiring the trucks and payments made to the operators by issue of invoice for every such hiring constituted a separate contract or a subcontract. So therefore, appellant had defaulted in deducting TDS under section 194C, where such payment exceeds ₹20,000. So revenue had clearly stated that when there is a contract, when there is a hiring of work between the appellant and the subcontractor, even though there is no specific contract, it constituted a contract under section 194C, and it had a obligation to deduct TDS under section 194C. The second contention of the assessee was 40A was not only limited to the expenses payable, but also extended to the expenses which had already been incurred and paid. And finally, the revenue also contended that 40A, which was introduced by Finance Act 2004, was well applicable from the assessment year 2005-6 itself. Now we'll see what was the observation of the Supreme Court. Now, first, before checking out the observations, let us see the relevant extracts of the sections which is applicable. So, section 194C, as amended by the Finance Act 2004, read as: any person responsible for paying any sum to any resident for carrying out any work shall, at the time of credit or at the time of payment, whichever is earlier, deduct tax under section 194C. Subsection 3 of section 194C also read as, no deduction shall be made under this subsection where the amount of any credit or paid to the account of the contract or subcontractor does not exceed rupees 20,000. So subsection C clearly stated that only when the amount exceeded 20,000, the 194C section shall be applicable. Now section 40A(IA), which was amended by the Finance Act 2004, read as, notwithstanding anything to the contrary in section 30 to 58, the following amounts shall not be deducted in computing the income under head PGBP. The income is any interest, commission or brokerage fees for technical services which is payable to a resident. Here, friends, the word payable has been used, but the Supreme Court has clearly stated that the word payable here refers to intention of the section to imply or to just state the nature of the service, which we'll be seeing in the subsequent sections. So friends, here the key words to note is, under section 194C, the TDS deduction shall be of any person responsible for paying to any resident shall. So that means it mandates to deduct TDS for any person for payment to any resident. So with this, we'll go to the observations of the Supreme Court. Supreme Court had given its judgment or observations under 4 different parts. The first part it discussed about was applicability of section 194C. Supreme Court clearly stated that where the Aditya Cement Company had a contract with the assessee appellant, that is a transporting firm, it had a contract for transporting the goods, which was clearly stating that the assessee was liable to transport the goods by any means. The assessee could hire or could even use its own vehicles. Since the assessee was not having its own vehicles, it hired its subcontractors or truck operators for transporting such goods. So there was no direct contract or no privity of contract between Aditya Cement Company at the first and the final truck operators or sub-owners. The assessee was not acting as a mediator between Aditya Company and truck operator. The assessee had a different contract with Aditya Cement Company, and assessee also had a different contract with the truck operators or owners, which was not written or oral, but it was implied contract. So the Supreme Court stated that the goods transported through trucks hired, even in the absence of any specific contract with the truck operators, constituted a contract which is implied contract, as it was the responsibility and at the domain of the appellant to transport the goods of the company and how to accomplish the task. Whether appellant had specific or identified trucks on its roll, had been picking them on a freelance basis or on need basis was of no significance, because once a particular truck was hired by the appellant for carrying out any part of the work, the operator or truck becomes a subcontractor and section 194C shall be applicable to it. Because the goods transported there was a separate contract between the assessee appellant and the truck operators, even though it is not a specific oral or written contract, but it is an implied contract under section 194C. The relevant judgment of the assessee, the relevant case law on which assessee had relied upon, was also negated by Supreme Court, stating that in the given case, that is the Hardarshan Singh versus CIT, there was a direct contract between the consignor company and the final truck operators or the owners. In that case, the assessee was acting just as a mediator between or intermediary between the two. But whereas in this present case, there is no separate contract between the consignor company and the truck operator. The assessee had a separate contract with the consignor company, and the assessee had a separate contract with the truck operator or a subcontractor. Therefore, that case shall not be applicable in this scenario, and 194C shall be applicable and TDS has to be deducted. The second part on which Supreme Court gave its judgment was whether the disallowance was limited to payable or even the expenses which has been paid during the year. So for this purpose, the Supreme Court clearly analyzed the purpose of the disallowance, that is why 40A was introduced, what were the provisions and procedures relating to TDS, and the definition of the term payable by relying on 3 different case laws or 3 different judgments. The first one was Calcutta Export Company case, where it stated that it is clear from memorandum's explanation that Section 40A was introduced to ensure tax compliance. So unless 40A, so basically 194C ensured mandated that TDS has to be deducted, but 40A ensured that this tax has to be compliance. And when this is not done, then the purpose of 40IA was not to punish the assessee, but just to shift the expenditure which can be claimed as deduction in the year in which the TDS has been deducted. So this purpose has been clearly stated in the Calcutta Export Company case. Now, when the PMS Diesel's case, the Supreme Court in its own case stated that liability to TDS is mandatory, as the words used in the section is shall and not may. That means that when this section becomes applicable, the assessee shall be required, that is mandatorily required to deduct the TDS in the case. This will ensure that the identification of payees and confirming the networks of the assessee. So friends, we know that the TDS provisions has been brought to negate the tax, negate the tax which the assessees do not pay, by identifying the payees where the payments has been made and confirming the networks of the assessee by checking the returns of income. So this is an enabling section of tax collection mechanism to bring within its fold all the persons who are liable to pay tax and make the TDS requirement mandatory. Then finally, Supreme Court also defined the term payable in the case of Crescent Export Syndicate case, where it said that the term payable is just a descriptive of the payments which attract the liability to deduct TDS in a particular period. It does not categorize defaults on the basis of when the payments are made. The term payable is only indicative, and it cannot be held that the term refers to only those cases where the amount is yet to be paid and not the amount actually being paid. So friends, Supreme Court also stated that if we see, if the section is brought only for the cases where the expenditure is payable during the year end, then the very purpose of the section will not hold good, because the assessees may pay all the expenditures without even deducting the TDS and shall not show any amount which is payable during the year end. So it's clearly stated that the TDS sections shall be applicable even for those expenses which are remaining payable, as well as which are paid during the year. So the Supreme Court here observed in the case of Palam Gas Service, in which the interpretation of Section 40A was clearly given, and the assessee's request to reconsider the case was negated by the Supreme Court, as Supreme Court was unable to find in substance any of the contentions made by the assessee which was going against the law. So therefore, the contention of the assessee that disallowance under Section 40A does not relate to the amount already paid and is applicable only to the balance amount payable stands rejected. Now, the third part on which the Supreme Court gave its judgment was whether the Section 40A was applicable from the assessment year 5-6 or only after from the assessment year 6-7. So here, the Supreme Court relied on two important case laws. The first was Kamtharuvi Tea Estate Limited versus the state of Kerala, where it was clearly stated that in the IT Act, whenever the amendment happens on the first day of April of any financial year, it must apply to the assessments of that year. That means if the assessment has happened in the budget 2004, which will come effect from 1st April 2005, that means it should be applied from the assessment year 2005-6, which is for the financial year 4-5. And amendments in the Act which come into force after the first day of April would not apply to the assessment for that year, even if the assessment is actually made after the assessment came into force. The second decision, or the second case which Supreme Court stated that CIT versus Istimian Steamship Lines, where Supreme Court observed that subject to the charge is the income of the previous year, but the law to be applied is that in force in the assessment year relevant to that previous year, unless otherwise stated or implied. So for instance, now in the financial year 4-5, whatever the law is applicable for the assessment year 5-6 shall be applied for the financial year 4-5. So applying these principles to the case in hand, Supreme Court viewed that the amendment in section 40A with effect from 1/4/2005 would apply from and for assessment year 2005-6. The contention of the assessee that the said section shall be applicable only from assessment year 6-7 as the assent of the president was received only after April 2005 is baseless. The fourth part on which the Supreme Court gave its judgment was whether the disallowance of the deduction is negated or whether it is in pursuance with the law. So the Supreme Court stated that the necessity of disallowance comes into operation only when default of the nature specified in the provision takes place. The appellant had shown payments in truck freight account at rupees 1,37,71,206 and the receipts, which is much higher from the company, which is at 1,43,90,000. So the disallowance amount had only been 57,11,625. That is the amounts on which TDS was required to be deducted, being the amounts which is more than 20,000 rupees. So the entire amount received from the company was not disallowed. So viewing from any angle, Supreme Court did not find any case of prejudice or legal grievance with the appellant. The Supreme Court, the assessee, one more interesting aspect of the assessee was it relied on few of the amendments and compared the amendment of section 2014. So basically in the section in the year 2008 and 2010, amendments which came to 40AIA were of retrospective nature because the amendments which came gave requisite relief to the taxpayers who had collected TDS but could not deposit within the prescribed time given by the government. So the Supreme Court opined that whatever the amendment came in 2008 and 2010 was of retrospective effect and should be applied for the assessment year even before that. However, the amendment which came in 2014 clearly gave assessee and clearly changed the section where the assessee had to disallow the deduction of amount of expenses at the rate of 30%. So for example, if the expenses were 100 and then the disallowance would only be 30, that is the 30% of the expenses. This amendment should not be taken at a retrospective effect because this amendment clearly changed the law, changed the section, and it did not specify any relief to the assessee or it did not specify any retrospective in nature. So therefore the amendment which came in 2014 should be taken on a prospective aspect from the year 2014. Therefore the assessee's contention that the relevant amendment in 2014 should also be applied in the assessment year 5-6 had been clearly negated by the Supreme Court. Now, seeing these four aspects, there were final concluding points by the Supreme Court. The first one was Supreme Court clearly stated that payments made by the assessee to truck operators or owners was a clear payment of subcontract and hence TDS under section 194C was deductible. Where assessee had not deducted TDS, such payments had rightfully been disallowed from deduction while computing the total income. The disallowance under section 40AIA is not limited only to the amount outstanding at the end of the year, and this provision equally applies to expenses that had been incurred and paid by the assessee even during the year. The disallowance shall be very much applicable from the assessment year 5-6 as it is introduced by the Finance Act 2004 with effect from 1/4/2005. The benefit of the amendment made in the year 2014 will not be available to the assessee as it is not in a retrospective nature. So therefore, thank you friends. I hope the presentation was clear. Thank you very much.